Hello everyone, Flying Dutchie here and welcome back to another episode in our tutorial for complete beginners. I think it's episode 8, yeah, I think it's episode 8, and in this episode we are going to delve a little bit deeper into privatization and dividends and the different ways of buildings being owned and what that actually means. So this will be very interesting also for people that have a little bit of experience. I did some calculations and even myself I have learned a couple of things now. So let's take a look first at the building registry. Now it's a big list, but when you click on the building tab here, you can go to the building registry. So let's click on this button here. And here we can see all the buildings and information everywhere. I don't normally use this a lot, but there is something that you can do here that is actually very helpful. Maybe you remember that I was hoping for my investment pool and the people that are building buildings in our country, that they are going to privatize my own buildings, because we have 1.6 million debt right now that we take from the people from our country, by the way, which you will see soon. But when they buy a building from us and privatize it, we get 150,000, and that will help with our debt, which is a bit of a problem right now. So what we can do, and what you have to do if you want that your buildings need to be privatized, you need to tell the game that you want this. So let's just click everything back in. I think this is how you will see your screen when you open it. There we go. All the buildings. And then I think over here we have a button to toggle privatization. We own some buildings ourselves. You can quickly see that over here as well. We have 14 nationally owned buildings costing us 1 bureaucracy per building. And I don't want that. I want the people to own all the buildings, because the dividends that go to us are not that great. I think I talked already about it. But when we go to the government dividends, oh my god, over the number, you can see that our efficiency is only 48. We are losing 50% of government dividends at the moment. I think you can get this up a little bit higher with some law changes, but it is always wasteful to have buildings owned by yourself in this game. If the building will be owned by our manor houses and our financial districts, which we'll go over soon as well, then the dividends will be completely invested in that. There are good and bad things about it though, because when the government dividends are wasted, the dividends that go to financial districts and to manor houses, to the rich people, you could say are also a little bit wasted, because they are going to buy luxury goods from it and get richer and richer, and that is not always benefiting the rest of the country. I mean, you can make more luxury goods, and that will be helpful, but let's go over that as well soon. So there's always positives and negatives in this game, and that just amazes me all the time. But yeah, we need to privatize our buildings. So the fishing wharves, we cannot click this button. There are no fishing wharves at the moment that are owned by us. The level 2 fishing wharves in Svealand are owned by local workforce. We will take a look at that as well. What does it actually mean? Later, we can see that there is one fishing wharf in Scania owned by the manor houses in Svealand. So our capital manor house is having ownership over a fishing wharf in Scania, in other province. And we can see that the financial districts own 2 levels in Norrland. So manor houses and financial districts can own fishing wharfs. Furniture. We have only one furniture that is owned by the financial districts. Okay, that's fine. We cannot privatize anything, but we can privatize something here. So we click the button and we see that there are 3 paper mills. 2 levels are owned by the financials and 1 by us. We will tell the game you can buy this for 150,000. And then hopefully this will go to maybe a financial district, maybe another one. We have multiple financial districts in different provinces. Let's take a look what we can privatize more. Is that all of it? Oh, I have something, never mind. This is what you're gonna see. I had a filter. I was looking at buildings that were privately owned. You can filter everything over here. So let's take a look here. We have a level 1 arms industries that is owned by us. I guess we're going to privatize that one as well. We have some banana plantations, we have some coal mines, we have cotton plantations, fishing wharfs. We have some sort of logging camps, military shipyards, millet farms, and steel mills. You need to click this button all the time, because when you build something, now everything is toggled for privatization, so hopefully people are gonna do this. When you build buildings yourself, they will never have privatization toggled on, I think. There is another way to do this, and click on all the buildings, and then you can click it here as well, I think. There's the button. You can also do it over here. So you don't really need the building registry. But make sure that you have things privatized. I think that is easier. It's an easier first game to privatize everything. Now, what is happening with those buildings? So we talked about the government dividends, that they are sometimes wasted. But what happens if the dividends go to the ownerships, to the manor houses and the financial districts? What will happen to these things? Well, let's go to one of our, I think at the bottom, let's go to one of our financial districts first, right? So the biggest one is in Svealand, our capital. It's a level 12 financial district. Let's click on it. Let's go to the information tab, because that is where you will end up as well. Here we can see that this is level 12. There are 3,000 people working-ish in the financial district. The shopkeepers and clerks get a bit of a wage next to the dividends, and the capitalists only get dividends. You can see which buildings they own, and here you can see how much dividends they pay and how their productivity is. The higher the number, the better the building is, really. It's an average, so. But these are very important. So for example, our level 4 logging camps in our capital are giving 1.5 thousand dividends to the financial district. So let's go to the logging camp first. We can see 4 levels are owned by our financial district that we just went, and 2 levels are owned by the private workforce. We will go over this later. Let's first focus on the financial district that owns 4 levels of this, right? So the building will first try to build up the cash reserves, and when the cash reserves are full, all the profits, which you can see over here, are going to dividends. So what does this building need to do? They need to buy tools, they need to pay the people their wages, and then they will create wood and hardwood. And they all have their price. There's a throughput bonus, because we have Svealand. We have a bonus here in Svealand, Scandinavian Forest, very handy. So we make 26% out of nowhere extra, which makes this building very profitable. And then there is a weekly balance when you calculate this. This minus this is the weekly balance. And then it will be split, because we have 4 levels to the financial districts and 2 levels to the workforce. The 4 levels are another building. This is a financial district, so level 4 financial district. Dividends to other buildings, 1.49 thousand dividends go to this financial district. The other dividends are going to the 2 levels of local workforce. Shopkeepers, machinists and laborers are owning the 2 levels themselves. They have no capitalist or anyone else above them. The shopkeepers get the most of it, but we will go over that soon. And that is this number. We can see that the laborers, the shopkeepers and the machinists are getting some of the dividends as well. And there's reinvestment. I think that is because of the shopkeepers. Let me quickly take a look at this. Yeah, because shopkeepers pay 5% of their dividends to reinvestments. 5% of 130 is 6.5. And that is going to the investment pool. But let's go back to the financial district again, right? So they are getting from this logging camp in Svealand 1.49 dividends. Now, let's go to the financial district here. You can see it over here as well. 1.49, 490 are going to the dividends to this building. And it's listed over here as well. So this financial district is owning all these buildings, which gives them a weekly balance of plus 4,050. And this is their profit, because they only have to pay a little bit of wages to the shopkeepers and clerks, which is a tiny amount. And their cash reserves are full. Once again, this is also a building. And then all the extra profits, dividends minus the wages, or they already calculated it. Oh, the weekly revenue is 4.37 minus the wages. So this is the end income. So we make more than 4,000 dividends minus the wages is what they make. And we can see over here that the capitalists are making the most of it. And then a bit of shopkeepers, of course. Now, what is happening with these dividends? The dividends are going to be paid to our people. You can see the capitalists are very wealthy. Let's click on the 600 that are working in the financial district here. And let's go to the economy tab. We can see that this pop group is only getting, well, only, it's a lot of money, 2,500 on dividends. They also get a bit of money from our interest, because we are paying these people so that we can be in debt. Which will increase our standard of living a little bit, but it's a tiny amount. But why is it 2.5? Well, the game told me over here they are gaining 3.38. So the dividends that capitalists get, 30% of their dividends they are forced to put in the investment pool, and that is listed as reinvestment. That goes to the investment pool. And this is a cap in the game. So capitalists always pay 30% of their dividends to the investment pool. Aristocrats 20%, clergy 20%, shopkeepers 5%, and farmers also pay 5% into the investment pool when you are interventionism economical law, which is which one we have right now. There are no modifiers listed to certain pops over here, so they have the standard, which is 30, 20, 20, and 5 and 5. So that is what is happening with the profits that the financial districts make. We also can see that we, next to capitalists, have a couple of shopkeepers, right? And when we hover over this number, we can see that the shopkeepers get 676 dividends. When we click on it, and we go to economy, we can see they get only 500, because they have to pay a certain amount into the investment pool. And that is how these financial districts work that own buildings. And we also have, of course, manor camps. Let's go to a manor house. I mean, not manor camp, but manor house. The biggest one is in our capital as well. We have 36 levels. And there we have aristocrats, clergymen, and laborers working. There's still some vacancies. We see that the cash reserves are not full yet. These manor houses own these buildings. Subsistence pastures, iron mines, fishing wharves, etc. And that gives them a weekly balance of 3,470. Minus the wages. That is already calculated from this, so this is what they have as a weekly profit. And these are dividends for the people. You can see that not everything is going to dividends in this building. Why? The cash reserves are not full yet. This is the money we can go in debt in the country. So when this is full, then the cash reserves that are over here will go back to the workforce dividends, and then all the positive balance goes to the dividends. And then you can hover over here and you can see the aristocrats and the clergymen getting their dividend share. And once again, the aristocrats pay 20% to the investment pool, and the clergymen as well, which they can make more buildings to their portfolio again. So that is how the balances work in the game, and how dividends work, and what the investment pool is. But I showed you already, sometimes a building is owned by me, then we get the dividends over here, with a penalty. That's just gone. The money is burned with fire. It's gone out of nowhere, unfortunately. So it's maybe better to have all the buildings owned by manor houses and by financial districts, because then the dividends will actually go to people. But once again, only 30% of the dividends that the capitalists get go to the investment pool, so they will keep more money themselves. Which can be good, because then you can make more luxury clothes and more luxury furniture, which will create more jobs for other people. So it's always a mixture. But there's also sometimes a building owned by the populace itself, and that is very interesting in my opinion. I wish that would be more of the case in these days' worlds, because that is absolutely not the case right now. If you go back to our logging camp in our capital, right, we see that 2 levels of the building is owned by the local workforce. There are 3,000 shopkeepers, 3,000 machinists, and 24,000 laborers. That is a lot, actually. I don't think that's correct. No, that is not correct, I think. Not correct. It's 8,000 laborers, 1,000 machinists, and 1,000 shopkeepers are owning these 2 buildings. This local workforce is from everything. Well, now I'm actually confused, because the people that are working for the financial districts also are working here. These 24,000 laborers are not only working for the local workforce, they are also working for the financial district. So I still think I need to take 33% of the total workforce. So that is 1,000 shopkeepers, 1,000 machinists, and 8,000 laborers are owning 2 levels of the logging camp. That is how it is. So the game, what it's saying over here is wrong. This is not the local workforce, this is the total workforce that also works for the financial district. This is the total. It should be 1/3 because it's 2 levels compared to 4. So it should be 1,000, 1,000, and 8,000. That would be a better tooltip over here. And these people own the building. So that means that the profit that this building makes, which is this, the 748 dividends. The cash reserves are full, so all the dividends go to the POPs itself, are going to be spread to the people that own it. So the laborers are going to get dividends, the shopkeepers, and the machinists are getting dividends. And I did some calculations because I wanted to know which portion of the dividends that are owned by the local workforce is going to who. And apparently the shopkeepers get double the amount of dividends than the laborers, and the machinists get 50% less than the shopkeepers, but 50% more than the laborers. And I could not find this anywhere, but all my calculations are going back to this number again. So the dividends that this building make, shopkeepers get double the amount of the laborers, and the machinists are in between these 2. And that is just what they get for extra income. So when we go to the workforce here, and we go to the laborers, yeah, they are listing everything at the same. Yeah, and now the dividends are very weird because two-thirds of this population is not getting any dividends, but they are one POP group. So that is interesting. But you can see that the laborers over here are making a bit of dividends here. But that is nice, right? And that makes their standard of living a lot higher. Because they need 9, because they have good literacy. And they have 12. So these people are buying transportation a little bit of paper, a little bit of wine as well. So they're having a little bit of a better life when the dividends are getting split. So that's it. A building can be owned by us as the state. It can be owned by the local populace, and then they divide the dividends. Shopkeepers get more than laborers, and machinists get a bit more than laborers, but less than the shopkeepers. When you have a farm, the farmers get double the amount of the laborers, which can also be locally owned. And sometimes they are owned by a financial district. And then the building, the financial district building, is making money. And that is being used as dividends. And then 30% of the capitalists' dividends go to the investment pool, 20% of the aristocrats, 20% of the clergy, 5% of the shopkeepers, and 5% of the farmers. And that is how the game works. And there's not a lot you can do about it. So if you want to increase the amount that goes to the investment pool, which we are doing because this was 9,000 at the start of the game, we are already at 13,000. Our financial districts and manor houses are making more money. That does mean that our capitalists get more luxurious goods, but we also get a little bit more reinvestment. There's not a lot we can do about this, but there is something. When we go to the economic system, we can hover over some of these laws. Interventionism is great, because 50% of our construction sectors are used for private construction allocation. So, if they have something to build, they can lend 50% of what we have, right? But if we had traditionalism, for example, you can see that the aristocrats would pay 50% less to the investment pool, capitalists 50% less, the farmers, clergymen and shopkeepers, the 5 groups that pay stuff to the investment pool, are gonna halve their contribution. That's terrible. But if you go to agrarianism, you can see that the capitalists will go down. They will go down with 25%, so they will not pay 30%, but 22.5% of their dividends into the investment pool. But the aristocrats go from 20 to 30%, and the farmers go from 5 to 7.5%, and the clergy go from 20 to 30%. So it could be good if you have a very big focus in your country on farms, and you have almost no capitalists. You can maybe make more money with agrarianism by getting more dividends in your investment pool. Now we have also industry banned, which only gives the aristocrats a little bit more. Then there's also laissez-faire, and this is the let it go, is what it actually means. Almost no more state interventionism. 75% of our construction sectors are going to the private investment pool, so they can use way more. But we have a better loan interest rate. And look at this. The capitalists will be forced to be paying more of their money in the investment pool. So they go from 30 to 37.5. The shopkeepers go from, what was it again? 5% to 6.25, so they get a little bit more. This gives a big boost to your investment pool, because your investment pool money is most of the time a lot from your financial districts, and your manor houses are still paying the same amount because there's no penalty to aristocrats, right? So if you want to privatize your buildings, get more investment pool, and let the game decide itself what it wants to build because it's profitable, then go to laissez-faire. And you get more money in your investment pool. So that is how that works, and it took a while to find out how the local workforce dividends are paid. But it makes sense that the shopkeepers get double the amount of the laborers. Okay, that is what I wanted to talk about, I think. Oh yeah. So that was a nice in-depth story there, right? When you go to your market and you click on members, you can actually see who is in your market. So at the moment it's only Norway and me. So that is over here, and we have the most market share at the moment. I did not let us show that to you guys yet. I think we will end the episode here. It will be a smaller episode, but it was a nice episode about dividends, building ownership, and how all of that works. For example, this one is our... Oh yeah, we can do this quickly as well. This is our tooling workshop. We nationally own this tooling workshop. These are the people that are working here. Laborers, machinists, shopkeepers, and engineers. They don't get any of the dividends, I think. No. Because the weekly balance over here is 884. The building is profitable. It's actually very profitable. Because one level that gives a weekly balance of 884 is a really good building. Why is that? Because our steel price is not that expensive. Our wood price is cheap. And our tools are also a little bit cheap at normal price. The profits minus the wages give this weekly balance. The cash reserves are full, so all the weekly balance goes to dividends. And since we own this, we get the dividends. But you can see we only get 50%. The other 442, that is just gone. It doesn't exist anymore. It's out of the game. And that is so weird to me. But that is just how the game works at this point. I hope they will change this at some point in the game. But that is how a nationally owned building works, and that is why I want to privatize this building. We have clicked the building to privatize it. Hopefully my investment pool are going to take a look at this building and they think, hey, that is a nice building to add to our portfolio. We're going to make more dividends if we take the tooling workshops from the government. Hopefully they will buy it from us. We get 150,000 less credit. And the dividends are no longer wasted, but they are going into the coffers of a financial district. So that is what I'm hoping for. Okay, that was a nice episode about ownership and dividends. Hopefully you now completely understand how that works, because this is how it is. It's all set in stone, the percentages. Yeah, you can change it a little bit with your laws. I think there are some laws actually that can take away the penalty. This one, government dividends efficiency. I think you can go to 65 or something. Maybe with cooperative ownership. Command economy, maybe. Let's take a look. Okay, there is now a 40% government dividend efficiency. I did not know that. So I think with a command economy, you're gonna get 90% of the dividends. So you can go full communist and just own all the buildings yourself. Less radicals from nationalization, yeah. And the bureaucrats get more political strength. Oh, maybe we should do a run like this and just nationalize all the buildings and get the dividends in our own cover. Because we as the player are better with dividends than capitalists, right? If we get 90% of the dividends, we can just build everything ourselves and we can tell our country what we need and not the capitalists. That would be a nice run as well, going full command economy. I think I'm gonna do that in my next run on this channel. For now guys, thank you so much for watching. In the next episode we are gonna talk about power blocks. And we are gonna create one. And yeah, let me know what you think about this video in the comment section. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.